This is Dateline Delmarva, a weekly public affairs presentation connecting you with your community. Local happenings, community events, health issues, entertainment, charitable organizations, and more. Now in studio with this week's guest, your host, Randy Scott.
Well, this week we are talking all about the Lungforce Walk from the American Lung Association in Delaware. We have Christina, we have Linda joining us, and of course, thanks to technology, we're here on Zoom doing our Dateline Delmarva today. So first of all, thank you guys so much for figuring out a way to meet today. So how are you?
Good, thanks for having us.
Yeah, good.
Absolutely. So here's the deal. We have had so much fun at the Rehoboth Bandstand year in and year out, and I've had the great privilege of emceeing that event a couple of times, and it's so well done. And it's heartbreaking not to gather there again, but we all understand. This is a different time we're living in. It's no secret. But we've had to go virtual this year. So maybe, Linda, talk about that very difficult decision, but obviously the right decision, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We know, for us at the American Lung Association, we know people with, COPD, asthma, lung cancer, they are at, higher risk for severe complications from COVID-19. So for us, it was sort of a no-brainer. We knew that we had to go virtual, but we also know, virtual doesn't mean we stop, doesn't mean we stop fundraising. It simply means, we're gathering together in a different way this year. And so, our participants have continued doing an amazing job fundraising. In fact, fundraising is up over last year. So despite the virtual piece of that, people seem to be really, I think, inspired to understand that this obviously is something that impacts everyone, and we simply can't let it stop us. So.
That's amazing news, and certainly ticking up, but also there's always room to add more, especially because day of events usually can bring a little bit more. So we're hoping that virtual event will have the same effect as if we were to meet in person at the bandstand, but we're virtually doing this. So I guess either Christina or Linda, whoever wants to handle this one, what is it going to look like on the 11th of October on that Sunday when we kind of all try to get together and make it happen?
Yeah. So we actually will start launching our virtual walk week next week. And so each day next week throughout the week, we'll have challenges that will actually take place of our action passport mission tents that we ordinarily do have the day of, where we encourage our participants to go to each of those tents. We have prizes typically the day of. So to take place of that, we have a challenge each day, giving our sponsors and partners an opportunity to get their messaging out, but also to keep our walkers engaged. All of that will culminate on the Sunday at the 11th at 10 a.m. We will do our ceremony virtually via Zoom. And at that time, it's going to look like it would normally the day of. So we're going to have, our wonderful Lungforce hero this year, Christina, telling her story and telling her why. We'll have our previous Lungforce heroes who are also team captains talking about, why they continue to work with us and walk. And we will still have our opportunity to recognize our top fundraisers and our top teams. So we'll do all of that via Zoom. We'll actually be feeding that Zoom feed through our Facebook Live with our Facebook group for the walk as well. And, we have lots of people kind of walking in various hubs throughout the state, walking with their teams and their families, and they'll be joining live as well. So it will certainly look different, but I think will be, just as engaging.
Yeah, I think it's difficult because, it'd be so easy to kind of give up, but obviously you can't when you think about the reason you're doing it, your why. And let's talk about your why for a moment, Christina, because, not everybody that's listening or seeing this is going to be able to attend. We hope you will. But, if you want to, have a little cliffhanger, that's fine too for the stuff. But just tell us your story, why you're involved, and, what an honor it is for you to be a Lungforce hero this year.
Yeah, it's a great honor, and I thank Linda and the ALA, the American Lung Association, for this honor. My why is really connected. It's not so much about me. It's more about my husband. My husband, Rob Kalles, was diagnosed with stage 4 metastatic lung cancer in January of 2019. And one of the things that we found with such a devastating diagnosis is that the American Lung Association and Linda, who is an old friend of mine, reached out to us and really started to share the story and the mission of the ALA, and it really gave both Rob and I hope in a case where we felt a little bit hopeless. My husband was the Rehoboth Walk Lungforce hero last year, and he shared a little bit about his journey with with this disease, and how he was just going to continue to fight, and he was going to continue to, you know, live on, even though he knew that his time with lung cancer and his diagnosis was limited. And so for me, the why really stems from him. I can continue his fight. I can continue his journey. And I can see that the hope of this organization really shines through in a lot of the stuff that Linda talks about, that the American Lung Association talks about. And that hope gives me a lot of strength in what was has been a very difficult year, between the loss of my husband, the isolation due to COVID-19. You know, it was a struggle, and being involved in this organization has given me a focus, and really makes me feel good about some of the things that are going on. And you know, I use that word over and over again, but hope is important. And that's one of the things that this is doing for me and for our family.
It's Christina, and we also have Linda with us as we're talking about the Lungforce Walk, which is happening virtually on October 11th. So we want to make sure that anybody listening can be a part of that, and we're going to get to how to do that in a moment. But the easiest thing to do is just go to lungforce.org/Rehoboth, and you can learn all about what's happening. But Christina, to be able to see that they were pressing on despite the issues going on around us, I mean, that had to kind of make you happy, make you proud that, you know, this is an organization that's not going to give up.
That's exactly that's exactly how I feel. It's an organization that's going to continue to follow their mission and vision, and do for the community what they can in any way possible. And it is a great thing.
So let's talk, Linda, for a moment about day of and week of, really the chance for people to register and get involved. So someone that maybe just be hearing about this for the first time, saying, well, this sounds like something I want to get involved in. What are the steps that they need to take?
So very simply, they can go to the website, lungforce.org/Rehoboth. Once they're there, they will register as a virtual participant. And it's the only option to register, so it helps kind of with those questions. There is no cost to register as a participant. We ask your basic information, and then from there, you can choose to simply be an individual participant. You can join a team that's already there, and you can see what those teams are if they're choosing one, or they can choose to start a new team as well. I know, you know, whenever I am, you know, talking with people about the walk, I often hear people's stories, and that they're walking, they have someone in their life who has lung disease or has had lung cancer. And I encourage them all the time, start a team, walk in their name, walk in their honor, because it's a great way to, you know, continue their legacy and continue their spirit. And so people, once they register, they'll begin getting emails from me, and I will reach out to them personally to make sure they have all the things they need, answer those questions as to, you know, how to go about fundraising, how can they reach their family and friends, how they can connect to our app that we have, or through Facebook as well. And so we try to make it as simple as we can.
Absolutely. Let's talk for a moment too, Linda, about what people don't necessarily know about lung cancer, and you know, how much it is affecting so many people. If you're not directly affected by it, you're probably in the minority. You probably have some kind of connection with it, but it is, you know, the #1 cancer killer of both men and women, correct?
Absolutely, it is. And I think, you know, just throughout the years, I think there's a misunderstanding about lung cancer and who gets lung cancer. And so you don't think of people like Rob, who, you know, was a 43-year-old, you know, guy living his life, and suddenly had this stage 4 diagnosis. And we hear that from so many people, that often it creeps up with no real symptoms, no real specific symptoms. I think for Rob was his shoulder hurt. For another, you know, for another one of our heroes, it was a backache, and, you know, took them into the hospital, and suddenly there's a stage 4 diagnosis that you're obviously, you know, you're not expecting. And so it's not a, you know, a smoker's disease, as I hear people often say. And, you know, and I think that it's the #1 cancer killer of men and women, but for women in particular, it's only on about 3% of their radar, because that's not, as a woman, that's not what you're thinking, and often not the messaging that you're getting from just in general in the media, but also, you know, from doctors. It's not a conversation people are having. And so I do think that there's a lot of not so much misinformation, just a lack of information out there. And that's a lot of what we at the Lung Association are constantly trying to combat, is making sure we're getting our information out to people, and making sure they know about initiatives like Saved by the Scan that we have, where, there's 3 basic questions. It's asking you, are you a current or former smoker? Did you smoke? Did you have a 30-pack year history? Are you, 55 or older? When you answer those questions, when you answer yes, you bring that to your physician and you're entitled to a free low-dose CT scan so that you can be proactive as opposed to walking into a late-stage diagnosis. And so for us, it's just getting information to people.
I guess, yeah, that is the big question too. At what point should people start to get checked out? And, obviously if you're a previous smoker, maybe earlier than others, just with statistics, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you're in a risk category. And so certainly if you were even if you're a former smoker and you quit 14 years ago, there is still that potential, where you are now in an at-risk category. Absolutely be aware of it. Be aware of changes in your body. Be, proactive and go to your physician once a year for your yearly exam and have those conversations, because certainly the medical community is aware. And, the more they are aware of your history, but also your question, the more you can be proactive and stay on top of it as well. And so it's important to just stay on top of your health in general.
Again, if you want to be a part of it, it's going virtual this year. That's what 2020 is all about. But again, you want to make sure to continue to make a difference. The American Lung Association's Lungforce Walk. If you want to find out more, lungforce.org/Rehoboth. And I think another thing I appreciate too, it's a no judgment area, because you talk about how many people have that perception of it's the smoker's disease. And if former smokers, it's not a judgment. We want to help as many people as possible and, try our best to get these screenings done, right?
Right. Absolutely. And it's one of those things where, if perhaps you live in a household with a smoker. And so again, you still have that risk of secondhand smoke, but there's certainly not judgment in any capacity, because at the end of the day, no one deserves a lung cancer diagnosis, no matter what. That's not something that's deserving of anyone. And so, for us, these walks and Lungforce is all about, I think what Christina said, is giving hope to people, letting people know that they're not alone, letting people know that they have a Lungforce family that's there to help support them, emotionally. Sometimes it's physically, normally at our typical walk when we're in person, we have people who get to see other people, maybe they don't see often, but just having that contact with others to see those smiles is incredibly uplifting for people who are battling. And it's not even just lung cancer. We have people who, have COPD or loved ones who've passed away from COPD. For me, I have a child with severe asthma. And so it's nice to be around other people who get it and who understand, when you can't breathe, nothing else matters, quite, literally. So it's nice to have that camaraderie amongst peers.
And to know that there are people that are going through what you're going through, exactly what you're talking about. And the rough thing is virtually that may be a little difficult this year, but the good news is you can see faces and hopefully make these connections still. And Christina, I would assume that has been a big support for you as well, to just be able to connect with people that have been through what you've been through. Nobody knows exactly what you're going through, but there are people that have very similar situations that can help you, right?
Yes, absolutely. And that has been a big component as to why I continue to support the organization. And it's not just me, it's friends and family who have also, are dealing with the loss of their friend, their brother, their uncle, in the case with Rob. So it is nice to have that, like, as Linda said, our Lungforce family out there.
And the Lungforce Walk, again, is virtual this year, October 11th. Not at the Rehoboth Bandstand, but kind of be there in spirit. There'll probably be a little bit of that feel. We're trying our best, I guess, to have that feel of that camaraderie the best we can. And like you say, trying to keep this virtual event as close to the physical event as possible, which is difficult, but that's been something you've been committed to, right, Linda?
Absolutely. I think from the very first day was really the messaging is about, we know that COVID-19 has changed everyone's lives. And no one's kind of untouched at this point, but we can't let it stop us. And we can't let, lung cancer and lung disease take a backseat either. We need people to know we're doing everything we can. And so we have, we'll be sending some things out to our team captains, again, just Lungforce things to make them kind of feel a little bit more connected, doing our virtual walk week, keeping people engaged, people seeing our faces and talking about it, I think certainly helps. And we have, we have different team captains that are going to be throughout the state continuing to walk. And so I think, Christina has her family with her. They will actually be in Rehoboth walking, and they are going to walk the walk route itself. And, we have banners for them, and they're going to be all decked out in turquoise. So regardless, people are going to see that they're still walking, not only in Rob's memory, but they're still walking for Lungforce. And so, they're going to be groups throughout the state doing that, which is pretty incredible, I think.
Yeah, you're encouraged to walk wherever you want to walk, and if that's the Rehoboth Boardwalk, like Christina, that's awesome. I mean, everybody's going to keep their social distance and all that stuff, but you're still welcome to walk wherever you want to walk, and try to make this as close a feel of what we've been doing the last few years. Again, let's talk about the COVID-19 effect as well, because I think we're a lot better at it now. But the first few months, people were so scared to even go to regular checkups or regular doctor's appointments. Yeah. It's vital to resume that. If you missed one in March, April, May, and didn't reschedule, I would assume you, like many, urging, hey, you got to get that done, right?
Absolutely. I think, in the beginning, there were a lot of unknowns for a lot of people, and that fear was really crippling for people. For our household, in particular, I had to cancel. My son was actually going for a number of lung tests, and we had to cancel that, again, out of fear at the time for him. And now it's this point where we know better how to manage it at a personal level, but also, at a group level in hospitals and doctors. And so I think everyone that we know and all of our physicians are incredibly cognizant of that fear. They're very cognizant, obviously, of those safety precautions that need to be in place. And so I feel we just had to go to our pediatrician, for instance, for my son, and it was a good experience. It was very comforting to know all of those precautions that were put in place for us, and we felt safe. But it's important to keep up with your doctor's appointments. It's important to continue meeting with your physicians and your medical team, because the one thing you don't want to do is stop being proactive. It's incredibly important, particularly for people with lung disease.
And we're talking with Linda and Christina. We're talking about the Lungforce Walk. It's virtual. If you go to lungforce.org/Rehoboth, you can join the fun 10 a.m. on October 11th, as we look so forward to this event each and every year. As different as it will look this year, it still will be a great time, whether you're by yourself or with your family. It's all about togetherness, even if it's virtual at this point. And I guess let's talk for a moment too about the advancements that have been made. Sometimes you don't stop, and you don't want to stop, but sometimes you just got to pause and celebrate the victories over the past several years with the advancements in science and discovery. And one thing in particular is just the awareness that smoking is one thing you really shouldn't do, and the number of smokers has really diminished over the last several years, which is certainly a positive. But there's time to pause and say, wow, we've come a long way. We still have a long way to go, but we've come a long way.
Absolutely. And I think, for us, when you're kind of working sort of through all of these things, it is hard to stop, take a minute to step back and say, wow, we've accomplished as an organization so much. It's one of those things you don't appreciate until you do have to kind of do that and force yourself. But we've done, I think, over the years, the Lung Association's been around 115 years. So, we've seen lots of changes in all these years, but I think we've made incredible strides with the awareness piece in particular, making sure people know that there are resources for them to quit smoking, and that we're working with youth to make sure that we're working diligently, on ending the youth vaping epidemic, for instance, and working with on advocacy and research in particular. And so we're consistently funding, research initiatives, because the money for these walks and what we do is to help fund the education and awareness piece, advocacy, and research. And, with those three things, eventually one day, our vision would be to live in a world free of lung disease. So every advancement is a major victory for us, I think.
Absolutely. Talking about the American Lung Association Lungforce Walk virtually on the 11th of October. We're talking with Christina, and you just heard from Linda. I want to get back to Christina for a moment for those that may be just checking in with us. Your story and your connection, and it's been a rough go the last couple of years, but this group has been there for you, and I know that's been a great sense of comfort and inspiration and support. So I guess just tell us your involvement here in the last couple of years with the American Lung Association.
Well, it's funny. I've been thinking about that quite a bit as we've been approaching this walk, and really, it was one of those things that it's not really on your radar until it impacts your life the way that it does. So, with my husband's diagnosis in 2019 of lung cancer. And just to point out, as Linda said, my husband was a non-smoker. So his lung cancer was not connected to, lifelong smoking. He was a non-smoker. So with that, we started to get involved. Linda reached out to us to be a part of the walk, and we said yes, and we created our team, and the family got involved. And then as we went through this journey over the last year or so, just having the American Lung Association and really Linda's support through this has been, I can't thank them enough for what they've done. So one of the things that sort of stuck with me and that Rob has said to me is that we can't stop fighting. We can't stop looking for a way to make sure that nobody has to do this. And he would often say to me that his hope was that no wife, no family member, nobody was really making that having to deal with that. I share with you that my journey was really took an interesting turn this year as we planned a memorial golf tournament for my husband, and in August, right, to celebrate his birthday. It started off really small, and we were just going to have some of his friends out to golf, and then I reached out to Linda and we got involved, and it became this big, huge thing. And she's laughing because the two of us are sitting here in like April and May going, well, this isn't going to happen with COVID, but we were able to get it done. We were able to raise awareness, raise some great funds and for research and development, and all of that just comes back to the sense that I feel so supported as somebody who lost a loved one at such a young age to lung disease and lung cancer. I just feel as though I am not in this alone, that there's this world, there's this group of people who understand my struggle, what Rob went through, what hundreds of Americans are dealing with, and they are there, and that is I can't describe what that feels like, and I would hope that anybody out there who is dealing with this knows that it's out there, that the support's there for them.
And everyone handles these tough situations differently, and no one would have blamed you to say, hey, I just need a year away from it. But you jumped right in, and I think that's just the way that you felt like was the right thing. And certainly you just explained why, and it's the support of this amazing group. And looks like golf tournament's something that will continue, I would assume, as it starts off so well, which is excellent. And it's just great that Linda and the team were able to kind of help that explode and be even bigger than you had imagined, starting out with just some friends, and then boom, it turns into just an incredible event. And speaking of an incredible event, that's what it's all about today, talking about the virtual Lungforce Walk on October 11th, 10 a.m. So if people want to join that, you want to register at lungforce.org. It's no upfront cost. Certainly it is all about raising funds, because with funds, research and are able to do so much. But even if somebody just wants to check this out for the first time and see what it's all about, you certainly encourage them to do that, right, Linda?
Absolutely. I think it's all about just understanding it and what it is and feeling a part of something. And so when people go to the website itself, there's information on that front page. We do talk about the virtual piece, because I think, for some people that's a little confusing. How does that work? Obviously. But beyond that, all of that information is there. If somebody's maybe not interested in walking or registering this year, but they simply want to make a donation, they can do that on the website. They can donate to an individual. They can donate to a team. People can, I know that there are several people who plan to walk in some of the different areas of the state who maybe haven't registered yet. We'll still encourage them. They can register after the fact. We do keep that website open for about a month after the walk, so people can continue to still register for the team because they still want to be part of it. They can still make those donations as well.
And of course, we've mentioned them throughout, but just wanted to get back to some of the, things that people assume, the assumptions made about lung cancer. But I just think it's important to reiterate the fact that, one, it's the number one killer of both men and women when it comes to cancer. And, it's not all about smoking or not smoking. This can affect anyone.
It can. And I think that's the most important thing I think people need to really take away is that, the old stigma that was around, that it affects that, that lifelong smoker who's ignored doctor's orders for years. I think, I have family members that are still smokers, believe it or not, knowing where I work. So that's a conversation all the time we have, certainly. But I think they even have that stigma. And I said, no. And I talk about Rob. I talk about Rob's story all of the time, particularly to people who try to combat me with some of that stigma they still carry around. I say, no, it's absolutely not a smoker's disease. It absolutely affects young people. Rob was 43. That's certainly not something that you would think of. And so I think it's important for people to understand that anyone can get lung cancer. It is not one particular, group of people at all.
And you don't have to go through it alone. Like Christina has proven here through these difficult days, that this support group has been there for her. So just an inspiring story to be able to share, and to be brave enough really just to be open and honest, Christina. And I think, has that been therapeutic for you to be able to just express yourself through these days as well? And again, it's just everybody deals with things differently, but you speak so freely about it, and it's certainly appreciated. But maybe help people understand why you do that.
I think it's because Rob wasn't shy about it. He was very much so open about his journey and what he was dealing with. And so I kind of taken my lead from him. He would tell people, like, and it wasn't something where he was, looking for anybody to, be sympathetic. He was not that kind of person. It was more about just like, the awareness factor of it. And I will share that, my husband, this wasn't his first battle with cancer. He battled cancer as a teenager. And I think that brought to him this awareness that there is hope. There are survivors out there. He was cancer free for 25 years after his initial Hodgkin's lymphoma diagnosis. And he saw that support and that community that he received from that diagnosis as a teenager. He saw that it needs to be continued in all forms of cancer. And so him sort of being open and honest with his journey has given me the strength to be open and honest about mine. And I know that it is it's difficult out there, especially with the way things are right now, for people to feel isolated and to feel very, very afraid or very scared. And we're here to say that you're not alone, and there are people for you if you need it.
Yeah, certainly reach out, lungforce.org/Rehoboth, or you can reach out to Linda anytime. She's got that connection there. It's just, it's something that needs to continue. And I think we admire you guys for joining us today, as we just have a couple of minutes left, and to pressing on with this event, despite it being virtually, even though it doesn't technically have to be, as Christina's going out to the boardwalk and walking with her crew as well, and doing the social distance thing. You can walk wherever you want to walk. And I think just the last word here, Linda, just to encourage people to continue on. Last things that people need to know before we say so long.
We have a Facebook group, and it's easy to find, and it's public, and you really just search the groups for Rehoboth Walk, and it'll come up, and it's an open group, and we post lots of pictures. We encourage the people in our group, post your pictures. People want to see what other people are doing. People can register anytime. They can register all the way up that morning. If they are confused about registration, or say you have a whole big group of people, send the information to me. I can register them as well. And so, for some people, if that's an intimidating process, I can take care of everything for you. Donations can be mailed into our office. That website, or that information's on our website. They can pay via credit card if they want to do a donation that way. They can, we're willing to work with people at whatever level they're at.
Yep. And the website again is lungforce.org/Rehoboth, and you can find Linda that way, right? You're easy to find.
I'm very easy to find. I think if you just do Linda Neef and ALA or Lung Association or Lung, I'll come up, absolutely. But they can also email delaware.events@lung.org, and I will get that email and I will respond quickly.
All right. Well, we were getting the word from Zoom that it's time for us to wrap. We appreciate your time, and we look forward to everything taking place and happening on the 11th of October. Again, lungforce.org. Christina, thank you so much for being open and honest and sharing your story with us, and continuing on And Linda, we thank you so much for your time this morning. Looking forward to it. Again, lungforce.org/remote.
Thank you so much, Randy.
You've been listening to Dateline Delmarva with Randy Scott. The opinions heard on this program are those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect those of iHeartMedia. Dateline Delmarva is a presentation of iHeartMedia.